Okay, Mr. Mayor, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I will call the meeting to order. Oh, there's the Deputy Mayor. Morning, Sue.
That only took 10 minutes to try and figure out which computer might allow me to use Teams today. Apparently, I'm kicked out on both of them. I don't have access to Georgian Bluffs anymore.
Oh,
Okay,
dear.
so I'll,
Somebody here tried to tell me.
I've called the meeting to order. I'll start off with reading our land acknowledgement statement. We acknowledge with respect to history, spirituality, and culture of the Anishinaabe, the people of the three fires known as the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations who have inhabited this land from time immemorial. And further give thanks to the Chippewa Saugeen, Chippewa Nawash, now known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. We also recognize the Métis and Inuit whose ancestors shared this land and these waters. May we all, as treaty people, live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship with all diverse people. So moving on, approval of the agenda. The recommendation is that the agenda be approved as presented. Someone to move, put on the floor, please. Moved by Scott, second by Sue. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, I guess a show of hands, all in favor? The motion is carried. Declaration of pecuniary interest, you can declare anytime you see fit during the meeting. Minutes of the previous minutes. The recommendation is that the minutes of the BioGRID Board of Management meeting held on November 24th, 2021 be adopted. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Brian, second by Sue. Any discussion on the motion before us? Scott, go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. In those minutes, there was reference to our closed session that we gave direction to staff. I'm just wondering if we could have an update from our staff, whether there's been any further direction or any accomplishment on the direction that was given. Thanks.
Madam Clerk, is it something we'd have to go in camera to discuss?
I would say yes, please. If we could add a closed session discussions, we'll provide updates.
So do you want to do that later on in the meeting then, Madam Clerk?
Yeah, when we get to our closed sessions, we'll add a discussion there.
Okay, thank you. So I'll move on to the agenda then. We've no delegations here today. We've no correspondence. We're down to staff reports. I'll read the recommendation that the BioGRID Joint Board Committee receive staff report OPS 2022-03 entitled Emergency Contract Services BioDigester for information, and that the emergency agreement in Schedule A for the operation of the BioDigester at a cost of $15,333 per month for a 2 months term contract be accepted. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Sue, second by Scott. So I'm going to turn this over to Steve. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Mr. Chair, to the Bio Joint Board Group today. I just want to bring forward this report on a potential having Aqua provide us with some emergency services, as we did have a resignation happen here at the township level that looked after at the BioDigester. So the staff contacted Ontario Clean Water Agency to provide a quote for short-term contracted services for the BioDigester that include the operation, routine maintenance, asset protection, and management of facility. As part of this emergency agreement, Aqua would provide the townships with operations management for all aspects of the township BioDigester facility, certify operators to operate and to maintain the facility in compliance according to current environmental compliance approvals, access to extensive support network with professional resources as well as our specialized operations support services team, efficiencies in value for money as the Crown Agency competing with the private sector. We not only focus on cost-effective or reliable delivery services, but also ensure that we meet our public mandate and protect the public health and environment. That's Aqua's statement there. Routine maintenance that they would provide for us as well as comply with all relevant government and agency regulations and standards of the environmental compliance approvals, properly handle disposal and treatment of processed residuals, deliver to the township detailed reports that demonstrate compliance and support future planning, provide capital and maintenance reporting to the township. They'll be available to provide 24/7 week coverage at the facility should an adequate communication system exist. Carry out all routine lubrication program, including greasing and oil of all specific items within the lubrication schedule for the maintenance of the routine tasks, perform day-to-day maintenance duties to equipment by following preventive maintenance procedures and checking machinery and electrical equipment when required. They will be receiving the loads during the regular business hours and ensure security of the facility by locking the doors and gates as well. So what we're looking for today is approval to have Aqua emerge to take over the facility for 2 months while we figure out what we can, when we review the biodigester and bring back more information to this board for further discussions. But right now we're just looking for some support to continue with this process.
Thank you, Steve. Steve, while you're still on, could you comment on the financial impact, the breakdown?
Yeah, so right now our financial impact is we're paying roughly about $10,625 per month for an employee along with another contractor on site to run the facility. With Aqua, through this emergency agreement, we'll be looking to pay $15,333, which would be an extra $47.08 per month, which should be offset through the reserves to continue having those services provided to the biodigester.
Thank you, Steve. Questions or comments from the board? Deputy Mayor Carlton, go ahead.
I guess a couple of questions. Is the list of things that Aqua is going to do, it sounds to me like a lot more than what staff have been doing so far on a regular basis. So correct me if I'm wrong there. And does this mean then that we wouldn't have GSS on site at all? Because I'm thinking that's who's been there at this point. So that's my questions. Thank you.
Go ahead, Steve.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Deputy Mayor Carlton. Our staff have been doing these items as listed that Aqua has been doing. So they're just renewing or continuing on with what our current staff have been doing and the current other contractor. GSS is our current consultant there, but they would be something that we would have to address as well.
Before I go to Scott, Steve, on that same issue, does GSS are on site because they have the certificates to do with that particular thing, whereas our staff didn't have all the final certificates? Is that correct?
That is correct. Through you, Mr. Chair, to the board here, the GSS was overseeing our current employee that was there, as they are the ones that had all the tickets to run the facility.
And that was their main reason why they were there, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Sue, did you get your question answered?
Not really. I guess a third question then would be, with GSS, what kind of notice do we have to give them that we would be replacing them with Aqua, and who's doing all of these things in the meantime? Is Troy still there, or is he left already?
Steve, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Deputy Mayor Carlton. Troy is still with us right now, or the employee is still with us right now. Aqua has been kind of shadowing in behind to learn what's been going on at the plant. Right now, GSS, we couldn't find any agreements or any information in regards to that contract that is with the joint board here. So it would be something that we'd have to talk with GSS to get a proper send off on that. They will finish off the 2021 program that they were doing with the final reporting. That will be coming back to the next bio meeting here once we get that, but it'd be more of a kind of a click and go kind of procedure.
Okay, Sue. Scott, excuse me, Scott, please go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Sue raised some really good points. I'd hate to see us paying for any duplication if Aqua has all of the required certificates and can do all the provincial reporting. Then I think that's something that we certainly need to quickly have a look at, because I think it's $90,000 in the budget that we provide towards GSS for professional consulting fees. I guess I'm a little concerned at the overall cost. We utilize Aqua for our water system, so we have two water systems in the township of Chatsworth, the village of Chatsworth and Walters Falls, and our monthly fees there are $10,486. I think the requirements under the Clean Drinking Water Act are probably they're likely higher than what they are for the operation of a lagoon. So I guess my question is, are the requirements under the Safe Drinking Water Act higher than what they are for the operation of a lagoon? And then if that's the case, how do we square the cost of $15,000 to operate the biodigester in the lagoon when operation of drinking water is cheaper?
Cynthia, the comment from our CAO.
Yeah. Good morning, and thanks, folks. Allow me to introduce myself to folks who don't know me. I just started with Georgian Bluffs and am quite intrigued with the topic at hand. I come with a very strong water and wastewater background. Just a couple of points. It would not be the intention to have any duplication of service. So I think it's a great point that's been raised. And I've walked through the contracts with Steve to make sure that moving forward, we would not have any duplication of service. I think to the council member's question, the reason we're seeing a higher rate right now is because this is an emergency contract, and it's for 2 months. If to the point made, we were this group decided we were going to do something long-term with Aqua, we would be strongly negotiating a much better rate for a longer-term contract. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Scott, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did, and it's nice to meet you, Cynthia, and I wish you well in Georgian Bluffs and in Grey County, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Cynthia, you mentioned that you had an opportunity to review the contract with GSS with Steve. Is there any termination clauses in that contract?
Through you, Chair Burley, we cannot find a solid contract. So in our minds, and we will seek legal confirmation, there really is no term required to give notice.
But Scott, were you referring to Aqua's contract?
No.
No?
GSS.
Okay, okay. Sue, go ahead.
It sort of sits in my mind that when GSS's contract expired, we weren't sure what we were doing going forward. So we retained them on almost a month-to-month basis. And I don't know exactly when that happened, but that's just what sticks in my mind, is that we didn't renew a long-term contract, but they agreed to just do it month-to-month for us until we figured out what we were doing.
Okay, thank you for that. Scott, did you have another question? Or did you get your question answered?
I think I have my question answered, Mr. Chair. Going into closed session, in Steve's report, he does talk about the feasibility study and further discussions and next steps, but I think those can be addressed in our closed session. Thank you.
Okay. Patty, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Bruley. Steve, can you tell me what's the classification of the lagoon? Is it a wastewater treatment plant one, or what's the classification and the certification that's required of an operator for that facility?
Steve, go ahead, please.
Through you, Chair Burley, um, to Patty there. Yeah, so right now the classification of the lagoon, if I'm not mistaken, is a number 2 classification on the waste treatment plant, if I'm not mistaken, but I will double check that and get back to the group with an email on that right now. So the other thing too is with this contract, this is also looking after the lagoon portion as well. So this would be both lagoon and the biodigester. The biodigester is connected to the lagoons as well. So that's something that kind of gets incorporated with the waste treatment, wastewater treatment component as well. So that's what we're looking at as well. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Scott, go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. And through you to Steve. We're kind of between a rock and a hard spot here, aren't we, Steve? Is there really any other options available to us at this point?
Through you, Chair Burley, to Mayor Mackey, where there is no other options at this moment in time. So this would be an emergency agreement in place, and then we can kind of come back and as a group here and try to renegotiate or figure out our next steps on what we want to do.
Okay. Thank you for that,
So,
Steve. Go ahead, Scott.
So just to be clear, we're looking at approximately $2,500 per municipality in addition to the operating costs that we currently have. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, I guess I'll put the motion to a vote, please. Show of hands, all in favor of the motion before us. Okay, opposed, seeing none, the motion was carried. Thank you, Steve, for that. I'll move on to the agenda. Public question period. Madam Clerk, was there any questions from the public? None. We know unfinished business, no new business. We're going to go into closed session. Madam Clerk, do you have a motion there, please?
Mr. Mayor, if I may just interject, so procedurally, I would like to first have a motion to amend the agenda to include a closed session discussion, and then we will consider our closed session motion. So the first motion to be tabled is that the agenda be amended to include a closed session discussion.
Thank
And
you.
we're in a seconder.
Moved by Sue, second by Scott. All in favor of the amendment? The motion is carried. Now we need to go in camera.
Now, through your chair, I will place the closed session motion for consideration. So that the BioGRID Joint Board of Management move into closed session at 10:19 a.m. with the Clerk, Director of Operations, CAO, and for the Township of Georgian Bluffs and the Township of Chatsworth CAO Clerk to discuss a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any discussion on this motion before us? Seeing none, someone to move, put it on the floor, please. Moved by Brian, second by Scott. There's no discussion. All in favor of the motion? The motion is carried. We are now on camera, so we have to go out of this
Okay, Mr. Mayor, please go ahead.
Now, we do not have Deputy Mayor,
I
Yeah.
do not.
but I think we will proceed anyway. It's okay as a board. Okay, we have no other, we went in camera to discuss only what we went in camera to discuss, nothing more. We're now back in open session. Our day of our next meeting will be called chair. If we no other business here today, I need a motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Carlton, second by Mayor Mackey, that we adjourn. There's no discussion. All those in favor? Show of hands, please. It's carried. We are now adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.